you hardly had any formed notion of anything. You are just driven by the myriads of opportunities that were all hanging around and floating around you.
Layi is always very active. He's a very good family member and a very good friend too.
And he's taking care of me. He doesn't let me feel anything.
He relates not like an elderly person, like a friend, like a brother.
It's simply the man's integrity. What you see and what he says is what you get.
And he does not complain.
I finished in 1976. I had my master's and I arrived in Lagos, went back into Shell, and I think the following morning somebody called me and said, "Oh, I saw your name in the papers yesterday." I had then been offered a doctorate degree, this time by the Ministry of Education. So I had a federal government scholarship to do a PhD. So I then said to myself, you know, why don't I just go back? So I'm back to Imperial College to start my doctorate program.
I lived in London. He was always asking me around to come to his university, come and see this. And yes, and we started our affair from there. And it was a very lovely, long courtship. We went to places together. I did most of his field work with him.
His first career was setting out with Shell, and he was doing very well with Shell. He hadn't had time to become terribly senior, but he was obviously doing well and marked out as someone who was going to rise high.
I knew I could become anything. So resigning from Shell was a very easy decision taken for me by my wife.
The one question I asked him was, would you at some point leave Shell? If not today, would you consider leaving sometime in future?
He is totally honest, both with other people, but also with himself.
And he said yes. And I said, well, you might as well take the opportunity now if you think you want to go for this. And that was how we decided to go to Geotrex.
And that wasn't his only option. There were other people. I can tell you someone here who tried very hard to get Layi to come and work for him.
So I came into Lagos as the first staff of Geotrex Systems Limited.
Layi and I worked very closely for several years during the period at Niger Delta before we got into production, trying to pull it all together. And that was an enormous...
At Geotrex, we were encouraged to be very creative.
An enormous challenge, but obviously meant literally years of sitting together, hoping, nurturing our hope.
And I remember that I've written a memo on the 1st of January 1987. And I said in that memo that there are other projects that we could target ourselves. And I talked about studying the Nigerian unappraised discoveries. And I said the prospects of any one of those unappraised discoveries becoming a very small field in some kind of very poorly defined narrative.
Would actually do this. He would do the work. The others were older men who were happy to contribute guidance and experience, but were not looking at the dashing about. And Layi has that. Layi, this is another thing about Layi. Layi has enormous energy.
I had seen the possibility that if Geotrex could end up with one of those small unappraised discoveries, it could actually be the nucleus for a small oil company.
He has had a much greater effect on his career, the achievements of his career and on the economy of the country as a whole than he would have done had he just stayed on in Geotrex. Geotrex would have grown and been probably more successful had he been there full time without leaving. But look at what his vision has brought.
I only got a message around November 3 years ago. You are welcome to Ilewo as a parish priest. I'll see you soon. And I was like, who can this be? And when we met, a humble man, I thought he was in his maybe early 40, not knowing that he's already clocking 70.
But he's gentle. In everything he's gentle.
The most apt lesson was that, could we have done this differently? No, because we would still have been limited by the financial resources that we had. So one major lesson is start small, start safe, and do it right.